Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This one we're going over my cheat sheet for the 1000bulbs.com 500 at Talladega Super Speedway. We're looking forward to this race. Before we get into it, if you guys could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And if you're interested in the spreadsheet that I'm showing you right now, I got projections on there, rankings, my target sheet, cheat sheet, driver exposures, all that stuff. Available in the link description below as well as my Slack chat. And then actually that's it. So let's get right into the race. So let's talk about some race and track info first and go over some strategy, because this race is all about strategy. So make sure you guys actually listen. Not saying you guys don't already. I'm just saying this is a really important race to listen about the strategy portion. So this is at Talladega, so 1000bulbs.com 500. This is a super speedway. It's 2.66 miles in length. We got 188 laps, which means there's only 141 dominator points roughly available, meaning this is not a track that we care about dominators, and that's going to be very important because we'll get into that like right now. So some strategy and tips for this track is place differential. That's the only thing we care about at these types of track. We do not care about getting the dominators, because guess what? At these kind of tracks, they're drafting, they're in big packs, and the leader changes all the time. Most of the time, there's about 30 different lead changes, meaning there's not going to be a main dominator, and chances are you don't need the guy that leads the most laps in your lineup, because chances are bad things going to happen. Because at these kind of tracks, the drivers are in packs, and that means they're all driving close together, and one wrong move, one wrong move or something, or a guy gets turned, the field's crashing, and that means all the guys up front, even if they let a couple laps, they are going to get toast in the points. They are going to finish in the negatives, which means when we play the guys in the back, which is my strategy for these kind of tracks, the guys in the back are going to be just chilling in the back, and then they're going to move up, and they're going to get all the positive place differential points, and then the guys that are up front and crash, they're going way in the negatives. And guess what? If you guys play the guys in the back, even if they crash, chances are they don't really go negative, and they're still going to outscore the guys up front that crash, even if your guys in the back crash. Like I remember for the Daytona 500, the guy was playing the guy that started 40th. I had a lot of him, and he actually was the first guy that crashed, so he finished with 4 points. Well, all the guys up front that crashed, they got negative 10, 20, and 30, so he was still a 30-point better play than the guys up front, even though he crashed first and finished dead last. So that's why we want to use place differential at these tracks, because if we miss on the dominator, it's really not a big deal, because chances are you're only going to get about... the most you're going to see is about 5-15 dominator points from a driver, which is really not that substantial, and chances are they are going to get into a big wreck. Some races they don't. The second race for Talladega tends to be a little bit more tame, because a lot of guys have playoff points already locked up, which means they're not going to be driving crazy. Now there's a couple guys that do need dominator points, so maybe they're the ones that wreck the field, but this race tends to be more tame. I know last year I believe there was only like one crash, but in 2017 in the fall race, I believe only 14 cars ended up finishing on the lead lap. So it's kind of a mixed bag here, but still we're going to go with the strategy of place differential and hoping there's the big one. And I'm just telling you right now, if you go with my strategy, which I always do, you're going to be like in last place for a while. Then once the big wreck happens, that's when you move up. So don't just be sweating it out like, oh, I'm in last place. Yeah, you're going to be in last place until it actually happens. But this is my strategy, and it tends to be profitable every single time. So that's what I am rolling with. And I think I pretty much just went over about everything. I hope that all made sense. So like for lineup construction, I want 0 to 1 guys in the top 10 for all my lineups. Preferably 0, but I will make an exception to Joey Logano, which we'll talk about him in a little bit. 0 to 2 guys in the top 20, 2 to 3 guys in the 20s, not in the top 20s, and 2 to 3 guys in the 20s, or 2 to 6 guys in the 30s. And I know for Daytona sometimes I just go like straight 35 through 40 and just get the 6 guys that are starting as far back as possible. Since this race seems to be a little bit more tame, I'm not sure if I'm going to go with full on that strategy. I mean, I might have some lineups with that strategy, but that's going to be my lineup construction for this week. And practice times don't mean a thing, because they're going to be drafting in packs, so I don't care about practice times. And like I'm saying, you're not going to get like one main dominator that pulls away from the entire pack. Like, sometimes you see Martin Truex Jr. with a 10-second lead, and the guy, obviously there's no one going to be passing him. That does not happen here. They're all close together. No one pulls ahead for the pack. So that's going to be it for the strategy. I hope that makes sense. This is a very important track for strategy. So make sure you guys implement that. And it tends to be the most profitable way to go. Sometimes things happen, it doesn't work out, but this is the most profitable way to play, not restrictor plates anymore, but super speedway tracks. So anyway, let's get into the driver by driver thing. I can't really go in depth because I don't care too much about these stats. I mean, I do for some guys, but it just depends on the wreck or not. So you just gotta hope you miss the wreck. I like all the guys in the back. as you can see, most of the guys up in the top portion of the salary, they're the better drivers, but their average DraftKings points per race, they're a lot lower than the guys in the back. So I'm not just talking out of, just making nonsense up. Just the numbers even say that the guys that start in the back, which are lower price guys most of the time, tend to score more fantasy points. Like, look, Ty Dillon, Chris Buescher, Daniel Hemrick, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece, and all these guys that are even, scrub drivers, they score in the 30s. So even the numbers would agree. I mean, there's a couple exceptions up here, but we'll go over them. All right, so let's start with Kyle Busch. He qualified 26th, and because he qualified 26th, yeah, I'm going to have interest. He's been pretty good at Talladega. Now, I don't love going over numbers for Talladega because, these kind of tracks, you just kind of hope to miss the mess, but, some guys are better than others at that. So, yeah, he's been great at Talladega, 91 driver rating, average finish of 15, whatever, but he qualified 26. So chances are he's going to move up. He's in the top 15 60% of the time. Obviously he's got a top-tier car, so he can always finish up front and win the race. Would never surprise me. So, yeah, I do like Kyle Busch. I would definitely get exposure to him. Now, there is merit to fading the high-named, the big-name drivers because they're going to go over-owned, and guys that are much lower priced and don't have as big names, they're going to go much lower owned, and they honestly have the same amount of upside as Kyle Busch. But I know you trust Kyle Busch's car better and his driving ability. You just got to hope he doesn't get caught up in the wreck. So, yeah, I do like Kyle Busch. Martin Truex Jr., he is very bad at these kind of tracks, and he's been very bad at Talladega the past 5 races. He did qualify 18th, but he's only averaging 9 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 25. He is dreadful, so he's not really someone I want to play this week. Kevin Harvick, he's kind of in the same boat, not as terrible as Martin Truex Jr., but again, average finish of 22, it's pretty ugly, so not too interested in Kevin Harvick. Denny Hamlin, he's going to be the chalk this week. Now, it's up to you. I'm personally going to have a ton of Denny Hamlin because I'm just not going to fade the chalk. I know a lot of people are going to say fade the chalk on Denny Hamlin. He's literally the safest play this week. He can go nowhere but up. If he crashes first, he's still going to get you 4 points, and let's say Chase Elliott crashes, he's getting like negative 30. So I definitely want to play a whole bunch of Denny Hamlin. He's very safe, and he's got a great car. I know his engine blew up, but he's been fine at Talladega. Average finish of 14.2, which honestly isn't too bad comparatively to the rest of these drivers. Top 15, 80% of the time. Chances are he's going to be in the winning lineup if he avoids the mess. Now, if he doesn't avoid the mess and gets caught up and you faded him, or were at least underweight on the field, you're going to have a huge advantage. So that's up to you on how you want to, roll with your lineups. Chase Elliott, he's on the pole. Now, he is good at Talladega. He did win the last race here this year. But, again, guy on the pole, chances are you're not going to end up being in the winning lineup, only averaging 23 DraftKings points per race here. I mean, he's a good driver, 92 average driver rating at Talladega. But, chances are you're not going to be in the winning lineup if you're on the pool. I know one year Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was on the pool and he ended up winning the race. I can't remember if he was in the winning lineup or not, but it tends to not happen. If you just look at the average laps led or fast laps, 11, 15, 12, 14, average fast laps, 4, 3, 4. These are all dispersed through the field. That's not a lot of dominator points. That's like 5 dominator points. That's not going to get the job done. That's why we do not care about dominator points. Now, Joey Logano, I know he sticks out like a sore thumb on these average laps led, but still, that's not enough to make a huge impact. I know he's very good here, and, he's got a chance of being in the winning lineup this week, but I keep talking about Joey Logano. We'll wait till we get to him, but chances are Chase Elliott is not going to dominate enough of this race to be in the winning lineup, and there's always a chance he gets caught up in the mess, and he's probably going to move back. He can win this race, but I'm not going to it's a risk. It's not like he's a safe play whatsoever, so I don't feel comfortable playing Chase Elliott, so I would recommend fading him. Kyle Larson, he qualified 12th. Don't love him. I got to say, I'd rather play some other guys that are farther back. Brad Keselowski, he's very good at Talladega. Does have a win here in the last 5 races. Good average driver rating. Averaging 27 DraftKings points per race, not fantastic. Average finish of 16.2 is not terrible. Top 5, 20% of the time. Top 10, 40% of the time. I don't love him starting 6th. Maybe if you want to take a couple flyers in GPPs, hope he wins the race, but he's got to win the race pretty much to be in the winning lineup. Now, Joey Logano, I said I don't like guys starting up front, but he qualified 10th, and I said 0 to 1 guys in the top 10, and, thankfully he's actually 10th, so we do have place differential upside, and the dude's absolutely elite here. He's the best driver of, anyone on this slate at Talladega. He's very good here. Average driver rating of 108.9, averaging the most DraftKings points out of most of the guys up in this high-end range of 9K plus, averaging 46 DraftKings points per race, 108 average driver rating, a floor drive rating of 96.7, average finish of 9.2, which is fantastic. Does have a win here in the top 5 80% of the time. Now, a lot of these guys you're going to see that have, good finishing positions, like really good, have like 1 or 2 races here. Obviously he's been racing here a long time, past 5 races, top 5 80% of the time, average finish of 9.2. That's very good numbers. So I actually like him here. I wouldn't mind having a good amount of exposure to him. He tends to avoid the wrecks here. He tends to get up front. He's averaging the most laps led here. Was it 35 per race? Average fast laps of 3.6. I really don't care about fast laps. So if he does get up front and leads about 30, 50 laps at Talladega and wins the race starting 10th, yeah, he's going to be in the winning lineup, and he's absolutely fantastic at Talladega. So I do like having exposure to Joey Logano. And I forgot to mention the color coding. If you're blue, you're a place differential play. If you're yellow, you're the guy that's starting near the front, but I do think can finish high, so it's more of like a GPP play. So that's where Joey Logano is going to fall, but yeah, I don't mind him at all. And Clint Bowyer, again, just really starting too high for my likings. He pretty much got to win the race. Ryan Blaney, him and Clint Bowyer just really aren't that good at Talladega. Chances are you're going to get into the wreck. Maybe, not chances, but there is a chance of it, and he's starting a little bit too high for me. They're both only averaging average finish of 22.2 and 23.8, so don't love it. But one of my favorite plays is Kurt Busch at 8,800, qualifying 24th. He's averaging 39 DraftKings points per race here, which is one of the best out of these high price drivers. Average drive rating of 98.8, average finish of 10.6, which is fantastic. He's in the top 5 20% of the time, top 10 60% of the time, top 15 80% of the time. I like Kurt Busch quite a bit. He's very good at these types of tracks, and I think him and Joey Logano make a lot of sense if you're spending up, and Denny Hamlin. So, yeah, I do like Kurt Busch quite a bit for how good he is. William Byron, Alex Bowman, Jimmy Johnson, the 300 cars qualified way too high for me. They each have to win the race and lead some laps to be in the winning lineup, and I really don't want to bank on that, so I'm not too interested in any of those guys. Eric Jones, not very good here, only averaging 8 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 27. Not in love with Eric Jones. Matthew Benedetto, he's pretty good at, I keep wanting to say restrictor plate race. I'm just used to that term. They got rid of that now, but super speedways. Qualified 31st. He's pretty good at these types of tracks, so I do like Matthew Benedetto. Daniel Suarez, he's fine. Average finish of 14.4, and I will say MDB's numbers are a little bit, he was in worse equipment. He's a much better driver this year. He was very good at Daytona this season. So don't mind him. And then Daniel Suarez, average finish of 14.4. That's pretty darn good, averaging 31 DraftKings points per race. Qualified 19th. Don't love it. He's probably going to have to get a top 10, but he can do it. Eric Almirola, he's a GPP play only. He qualified 5th. And I said 0 to 1 guys in the top 10, but he is very, very good at Talladega. So he's averaging 54 DraftKings points per race, average drive rating of 90, average finish of 5.2, and that's with a 5-race sample size. So it's not like he just had one race here and ended up having a good finish like Ryan Preece did. So that's a pretty substantial sample size, and he does have a win here. Average finish of 5.2. In the top 5, 60% of the time. Top 10, 100% of the time. So I think Eric Almirola is worth a flyer. Hope he pretty much wins the race, but he can do it. He's very good here. And same with Ricky Stenhouse. He's great at Talladega as well. Does have a win here as well in the top 5, 60% of the time. Top 10, 60% of the time. Averaging 30 DraftKings points per race here. Not the best, but average finish of 12. So I don't mind Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He does have an average drive rating of 90.2, which is pretty good. Now, Ryan Newman, another guy that's pretty decent here, has an average finish of 13.6, averaging 44 DraftKings points per race here. He's in the top 10, 60% of the time, so Ryan Newman does make sense here. Austin Dillon, I hate Austin Dillon. You can play him. He'll probably be a little bit lower owned, but he's not very good at Talladega. Average finish of 26.2. Paul Menard tends to avoid the wrecks, but qualifying 14th, I don't love him. Ty Dillon's very good here. He's averaging 42 DraftKings points per race, qualified 21st. He has an average finish of 14.2. He's pretty good at avoiding wrecks, so don't mind Ty Dillon. Wish he was starting a little bit farther back, but it will make him lower owned. Chris Buescher, another guy that's pretty good at these types of track, qualified 23rd, averaging 37 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 18.8. Chances are he's going to move up. Daniel Hemrick qualified 29th, averaging 41 DraftKings points per race. Now, this is with a one-race sample size, I believe, yes. And he did finish 5th that race, so I can't really speak for all these numbers because it's only a one-race sample size, same with Ryan Preece. But he was very good here. He avoided the wrecks, so he did very well. Bubba Wallace, he qualified 27th. I know the numbers look ugly. Average finish of 24.7, average DraftKings points per race of 15.75. But qualified 27th, he can move up, and if he avoids the wreck, he's probably going to do fairly well. Ryan Preece, he did awesome last time in his only race sample size, so we can't really go off of it too much. But he did finish third, got 70 DraftKings points. He avoided the wrecks. He moved up. That's why we like the guys in the back. And Michael McDowell, not really in love with Michael McDowell. Qualified 22nd, a little bit. Don't love it. And he's at an average finish of 35.2, which is horrendous. So that's finished to Michael McDowell. Brendan Gaughan, we only see him here for the super speedways, and so I do like him. He did qualify 28th, averaging 42 DraftKings points per race, which is the best out of all these scrubs here. So average finish of 17.4. Definitely like Brendan Gaughan. He's got nothing to race for, so he's just going to sit back and try to get a good finish. Ross Chastain qualified 34th. He's in play too, averaging 30 DraftKings points per race. See, like I'm saying, all these scrubs, they got some pretty good average DraftKings points per race scored here, so like all these scrubs. Corey LaJoie, 35.5. He's been very good at these types of track recently. Average finish of 23.3. Chances are he's going to move up. David Reagan, Matt Tifft, both qualified a little bit too high for my likings, as well as Landon Castle. But Joey Gase, he qualified 36. He's averaging 32 DraftKings points per race. Average finish of 24.5. Chances are he's going to move up. I sound like a broken record, but I love all these guys in the back. Reed Sorensen, Parker Kligerman, Blake Jones, Austin Theriault, Spencer Boyd. They can move up, so I have no problems with any of these guys. If you want to stack the back, do it. That's what I would recommend. I'm not saying to just go completely punt 35 through 40 because the fall race tends to be a little bit more tame, but it's definitely a viable strategy. I know for Daytona 500, I just completely went some of my lineups 35 through 40, and chances are you're going to have a pretty good day if you do that because it's the safest high floor lineup. Now, chances are these guys don't end up winning the race, but they're a pretty safe way to go for cash games, I should say. And if you had to ask me my three favorite drivers, it would probably be Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, and then I really like MDB. I definitely like Preece, Hemrick, all these guys. So I guess my two favorite drivers are going to be Hamlin and Kurt Busch. So, and I'll definitely like Kyle Busch as well. So anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Actually, I should say don't feel scared to leave salary on the table. I know sometimes for like tracks like Daytona or Talladega, I can leave anywhere from 10,000 on the salary remaining because we do not need to worry about filling our lineups. We don't need all these high-end dominators because you don't need to fill in guys like Truex, Harvick, Chase Elliott. You don't need the dominators. You just want place differential. And if you got 5,000 salary remaining and you feel pretty happy, confident about your lineup and you use the strategy, I say go for it. So anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Remember to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And I'll see you guys in the next video, and I wish you guys the best of luck.